Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the May 8th, 2024 meeting of the Fond du Lac City Council. The first item of business is roll call, which is done electronically, and I will declare quorum is present. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, which is followed by a moment of silent reflection. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we will have a proclamation recognizing Police Memorial Week. Chief Goldstein, if you can meet me down front, please. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy signed the first proclamation recognizing May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as National Police Week to honor officers who have fallen in the line of duty and recognize the sacrifices made by the families of those officers and the families of those who continue to protect and serve our communities. And whereas the City of Fond du Lac recognizes the tireless efforts of the Fond du Lac Police Department in protecting and serving the citizens of our community, and is aware of the sacrifices that police officers make by risking their lives each and every day in order to safeguard the public. And whereas more than 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have been killed in the line of duty, including 4 members of the City of Fond du Lac Police Department. Officer William C. Prinsloo, who was shot on duty and later died of his injuries on November 19, 1898. Officer Nick A. Klasky, who was shot on duty and later died of his injuries on October 31, 1961. Officer Craig A. Burkholtz, who was shot and killed in the line of duty on March 20, 2011. And Officer Joseph J. Coor, who died in the line of duty on September 22, 2021, due to complications from COVID-19. The names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., the Wisconsin Police Memorial at the State Capitol, and the Fond du Lac Public Safety Memorial located at Hamilton Park. And whereas, in addition to the fallen police officers of the City of Fond du Lac Police Department, Trooper Trevor J. Casper of the Wisconsin State Patrol was shot and killed in the City of Fond du Lac on March 24, 2015. And whereas the Fond du Lac Thank you. Sorry about that. Whereas the Fond du Lac Police Memorial Ceremony will be held on May 9th, starting at 1 p.m. at the Fond du Lac Public Safety Memorial located at Hamilton Park. And now, therefore, I, Tiffany Brault, President of the Fond du Lac City Council, on behalf of our city and its residents, formally designate May 15th, 2024 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 12th through the 18th, 2024 as Police Week in the City of Fond du Lac, joining our great nation in honoring those in law enforcement by recognizing their sacrifices and immeasurable contributions in protecting our community and its residents. Thank you. Would you like to say a few words?
It's teamwork. This is what that is. Real quick, tomorrow we have an incredible event at Hamilton Park at 1 o'clock. The weather is going to cooperate. That changed. You get to push the button now. I'll hold it that way. So hope to see everybody there. We're going to have an incredible event with Father Michael giving the remarks and the WLA traveling choir. Then next Tuesday, our very own Lieutenant Williams is a keynote. That's my cue to not talk as long. for the Fox Valley Memorial that is up at Appleton Alliance Church. And that
Well, thank you, Chief Goldstein. Next on our agenda is public hearings, and we have none. So next, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda finalizes the proposed actions for the meeting. A, April 26, 2024 minutes, and B, list of claims dated May 1st, 2024. Are there any questions on or corrections to the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Schussler, second by Mr. Godfrey. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is audience comments, agenda and non-agenda items. The presiding officer will limit speaking time for non-agenda items to 1 minute and items noticed on the agenda to 5 minutes. Ms. Hefter, do we have anyone wishing to speak? And we do. We have Ms. Laura DeGallier, who wishes to speak on Destination Lake Winnebago Region Update. That is item 6A on our agenda.
Thank you. And I'm here to support Destination Lake Winnebago because they've been very helpful to our group this year, and I wanted to know that, so I kind of stole their time so I could say thanks to everybody else for World Migratory Bird Day. But Craig stepped up, his team stepped up. We had a videographer who came out and videoed all of our walks and also one of our evening programs. So we have tape that we can use next year to promote in advance, and we can join the Amazon crew, which likes to get on podcasts and say, Fall River, Massachusetts is a great place for birding. So, there's our line. To go on to the other people who have been very helpful with this year's World Migratory Bird Day, which was held last weekend, May 3rd and 4th, with events on May 2nd and also April 25th. I would like to include in my thanks the Fond du Lac County's new website events, the City of Fond du Lac for helping to spread the word, Thelma Marketing Director Erica Flood, Greg Stensland for including us in his news program the morning of the first bird walk. Community businesses who support and help promote World Migratory Bird Day are Gallery and Frame Shop, Julie Balsam, Samarisi Artisans, Casey French, and Trista Holtz Studios. Trista Holtz, also sponsor of the Make Your Own Bird Fusion Workshop, which was held on May 4th, Saturday afternoon. Fond du Lac Public Library for hosting our night with Stephen Thompson and advertising the event on their pages, and particularly Ian Stapleton. Thelma for allowing us to participate in the Thelma Visual Arts Reception with speaker Tom Schultz, and Michael Sergi and Trista Holtz are to be thanked for putting that together. Dusty Kirkhaw for plant identification and allowing us and inviting us to visit the Congregation of St. Agnes, the Congregation of Sister of St. Agnes, Woodland Grounds, and for hosting the Earth Day Fair on April 27th, which we participated in. Gratitude beyond words to Carrie and Dave Saloff for taking on the task of leading the bird walks again this year. Special thanks to Stephen Thompson for showing his favorite pictures at our event at the Fond du Lac Public Library. And special thanks to Tom Schultz for bringing his paintings to display at the Thelma Visual Artist Reception and presenting his journey into birding, starting with his college experiences. And also to Wendy Schultz, his manager, who helps carry all those easels and prints in. If I missed anybody, please forgive me and let me know that I did so I don't forget you in the future. Thanks to everybody, because it was our most successful day to this time. We probably touched close to, if not over 100 people this time, between the arts, which is extremely important in helping to promote birds and nature and wildlife, and also the people who came out on the bird walks. So thanks to everybody and for the whole community. We'll be back next year to do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. DeGallier. And that ends our audience comments. So next we'll move on to our action items. Action item 5A is resolution number 9123, A resolution waiving the prohibition against possession of alcoholic beverages on specific public ways and allowing a temporary expansion of premises for Thelma at 51 Sheboygan Street on June 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th, 2024 for free concerts. Our introduction is by our City Clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you, President Brauld. The Alma Sadoff Center for the Arts is requesting the city to waive possession of alcoholic beverages and expand their premises description to sell and consume on public streets for the 13 Thursdays of summer for the remainder of their current license that expires June 30th, 2024. A special event application has been submitted and approved by staff, and no glass containers or carry-ins are permitted in the designated area, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Godfrey. Second. And second by Mr. Heisler. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item B is resolution number 9124, a resolution waiving the prohibition against possession of alcoholic beverages on specified public ways for Thelma at 51 Sheboygan Street on July 11th, 18th, and 25th, 2024, August 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th, 2024, and September 5th, 2024 for free concerts. Again, our introduction is by our City Clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you again. This request is similar to the first resolution, but rather for their new license period that will start July 1, 2024. No other changes, and I would be happy to answer any questions on it.
Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman. Second. And second by Mr. Heisler. Thank you. Are there any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And, yeah.
Would you like me to change it?
Thank you. That passes unanimously. And that ends our action items, so now we will move on to our presentation of input items. First is Destination Lake Winnebago Region Update, presented by Craig Molitor.
Next screen, please. Good evening, Council President Brault, and greetings to the entire City Council. It's a real honor to be able to address you tonight. Thank you for this opportunity. I have a lot of territory to cover and a short amount of time, so I will dive right into my presentation. This evening, I would like to cover 6 topics. Alphabet soup, what is a Visitors Bureau, how we do what we do, events, our region's brand pillars, and our next big thing, the community-wide customer service training initiative. Next screen, please. So alphabet soup is a term I've heard many residents use to refer to the several organizations in our community that are kind of working in the same economic development space. I find it helpful to distinguish between these separate but similar organizations before I drill down into tourism promotion. Much of this is a review for you folks, so I appreciate your patience. So, top of the list, of course, Destination Lake Winnebago Region. Another term for our organization is the Visitors Bureau. Our job, as that name implies, is to attract visitors to our region. Second on the list is Envision Greater Fond du Lac County. Another term or another phrase for Envision is the Chamber of Commerce. And in our community, our Chamber of Commerce also houses the Economic Development Corporation. I'm not here to speak on behalf of Envision, but I think it's generally accepted that chambers of commerce specialize in B2B types of communication within a community. So from a 30,000-foot perspective, if you will, my organization is projecting our message beyond our borders, and Envision is projecting their message within our borders, right? So we're kind of sister organizations, separate but equal. As many of you know, we reside in the same physical space as well, in the old Retlaw Theater. Next on the list is the Downtown Fond du Lac Partnership, also referred to as DFP. Many communities refer to this organization as a Main Street organization. So the DFP is very similar to my organization. They are an event and marketing organization, but they focus their efforts on that very, very specific space within our community, the downtown district. And then last on that list, last but not least, is the Fond du Lac Festivals, Inc. And these are the good folks that, among many other things, bring us the Walleye Weekend and Sturgeon Spectacular every year. Next screen, please. So, lots of interesting names and abbreviations. It's easy to see why folks do get a little bit confused as to who does what. But we have Destination, we have Envision, Downtown Partnership Festivals. Remember, we are all working towards the same objective, though, and that's the betterment of this community, but just from a slightly different angle. Next screen, please. So, think, what the heck is a Visitors Bureau? Well, it's easiest to think of us as the sales and marketing department for our community. We promote the assets and attributes of Fond du Lac, Waupun, Calumet Township, and beyond. The most important takeaway from this slide is that no residents' taxes fund the Visitors Bureau. We are funded entirely by what's called a hotel bed tax, right? And it's a real simple business model. Here's how it works. Guy from Chicago stays in a hotel room because he's attending a meeting for Mercury Marine. At the end of his stay, there's when he gets his bill, there's a very, very small tax assessment. The city collects it, keeps it a very, very small amount, and forwards the rest to our organization. Next screen, please. So, why we need a Visitors Bureau. Well, keep in mind that most every community of about 10,000 people or more has a Visitors Bureau or some type of tourism promotion entity. The reason why communities have these entities is to promote economic development in the service industry. And also, and this is the one that I really like a lot, it's to foster quality of life for residents. So here, as I said in the previous screen, we do not cost the city anything, but the industry we represent helps create quality of life for residents. I love that aspect of our business model. Next screen, please. So in the old days, Visitors Bureaus tied everything to heads and beds and cheeks and seats. These days, the conversation is much more nuanced. Our premise, what we live by in my office, is that a community must be a great place to live for it to be a great place to visit. That's why myself and many on my team are involved in local initiatives that promote quality of life issues in our community. Next screen, please. Vibrancy, there it is. That's my all-time #1 overused word. A drinking game could be based on this. How many times I say vibrancy in any presentation. My feeling is that not just my organization, but all of us, all of the organizations in this community, we should be continually solving for vibrancy. We should create vibrancy, and we should project that vibrancy as far and wide as possible. Next screen, please. So, as mentioned earlier, our singular revenue stream is bed tax. With the exception of the year COVID hit, in my 14-year tenure, we have always been headed in the right direction, which is to say upwards. In 2010, when I took over the presidency of the organization, our bottom line was $320,000 in bed tax. Last year, we topped $1 million for the first time ever. And I think it's important for me to pause right now and say this screen is an homage to the hardworking people in the tourism and the hospitality industry. I'm here to report out on what they're doing, but it's the folks that are tending bar, cleaning rooms, welcoming folks into hotels and shops and gas stations. Those are the folks that make those kinds of numbers possible. And I have nothing but respect for them. Next screen, please. So why invest in tourism? Well, in Fond du Lac, the answer is really, really easy. Visitors to our community added $50 million to our economy in 2023. That is pretty awesome. All right, next screen, please. How we do what we do. We invest the money that flows into our budget into three basic categories: marketing, direct sales, and social media. If you look at the marketing budget, our current marketing budget is at above or slightly above what our entire bottom line was 14 years ago. Next screen, please. City Council people, if you are not currently following us on Facebook, I would ask that when you have a moment, please jump on the bandwagon. Social media is the most dynamic tool we have to promote this awesome and beautiful community, and really the more the merrier that can be involved in that. Additionally, our website's calendar has the potential, we're not there yet, but we have the potential to be the unified calendar for our entire region. We would be very grateful to you and everybody listening to help us promote this free asset to the community. Next screen, please. Although we are first and foremost a sales and marketing company, we also have a successful track record for creating events, going all the way back many, many decades to Walleye Weekend. So why would a visitors bureau create events? Number one reason, drive commerce. I'm going to use this term for the second time tonight. Heads and beds, cheeks and seats. Number two, positive press. Since my tenure began, this organization has created over $20 million in free positive press for our community. And number three, quality of life. About every 2 years, there's a Facebook meme that suggests that Fond du Lac is the most boring community in the country. That's a lie. That's a horrible lie, and we're here to put an end to it. Next screen, please. So, in addition to creating Walleye Weekend, more recently we have given birth to some really awesome events enjoyed by both locals and residents. So Sturgeon Spectacular, next year will be our 10th anniversary. We created that, and about 5 years ago, we sold it to Fond du Lac Festivals. It's not our festival anymore, but I have paternal feelings about it. So we put a lot of time and effort into that. Next screen, please. The Wisconsin Snow Sculpting Championship, held right in the heart of the downtown district on the closed Sheboygan Street. Thanks to this group for closing that for us once in a while. Next screen, please. The Art of the Bloody Mary. We had our second annual Art of the Bloody Mary contest at Thelma, and it was a rollicking, raucous good time at Thelma on a Sunday afternoon. Next screen, please. We also work to promote regular shopping events on the east coast of Lake Winnebago. Next screen, please. And Waupun, and of course, we partner with the DFP to help promote shopping events in our own downtown district. Next screen, please. So before I get to the final topic, I thought it might be helpful to roll through exactly what our brand pillars are. What are we selling? And you folks, you're going to know these in the marrow of your bones, right? Our first brand pillar is location, 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 right? And this works for attracting workforce too. We're centrally located. We are a hub and spoke destination within the region and within the entire Midwest. And then finally, we are about an hour from 70% of the state's population and about 2.5 hours from Metro Chicago. So it's easy to get here. Next screen, please. We are at the foot of the mighty Lake Winnebago. And Lake Winnebago, sometimes it's easy for us to forget about this, but it's one of the largest freshwater inland lakes in the country. Next screen. We are the doorway to Horicon Marsh, and that is also known as the Everglades of the North. Next screen. We are in the heart of the Kettle Moraine at the edge of the Niagara Escarpment. So if you like the outdoors even a little bit, the Lake Winnebago region is for you. Next screen. Tons of arts and entertainment in this community, just tons of it. Very, very vibrant. There I go with that word. It's a very vibrant community to live in and to visit. Next screen. We have big city vibe and attributes, but with small town values, and we are a very inexpensive place to live and to visit. All right, the final screen. And now in closing, a glimpse at our next big thing, and this is going to be just in time for the 2025 NFL Draft, which I think we all know is coming our way, and it's going to be a big deal. We are going to offer free online customer service training. This is a curated program that we have done specifically for our region. It's going to be available to all who are interested, and we're going to provide tools to folks to assist them in promoting our region. The idea is to get as many frontline hospitality workers certified as sort of quote-unquote ambassadors, so that there is a region-wide upgrade to our customer service skills. So yeah, this is the next big thing. It's been ready to go for a little while, but I think we are ready to pull the trigger on it. Again, the initial idea is to get all frontline hospitality workers, but we would love to get everybody to do this. It'll be less than an hour. There are several videos that folks watch, and then they take a very quick test to prove that they've done their time to participate. The final point I want to make, and this will close out my presentation and will close out why I think it's important that we are involved in this customer service training initiative, is we need to be loud and proud about what an awesome and beautiful and sweet community this is. With that, I'll close. I'm happy to answer questions, address comments or concerns, but one last time, thanks for the honor of addressing this group.
All right, thank you so much for the update. Are there any questions from council for Mr. Molitor? Mr. Mullen.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm very on board with what you're doing.
We don't have you in the mic.
I'm very on board with what you're doing. I mean, I sat on your board last year, so I'm familiar with a lot of this stuff. I think it's a good idea. We really do have a lot of attributes in this town that don't get enough play. A couple specific questions. Have you thought about, and again, on the vibrancy part, kind of working from the bottom up? I know you're very top down, and we've talked about this before, is giving micro grants to some of the local smaller events, you know, a couple $100 to a church group or, you know, some other, you know, neighborhood festival really goes a long way for their marketing, and they're so highly motivated.
Yeah, I love the idea. We actually have begun to, I'm going to back up one step. We currently offer what we call micro grants to all the local businesses, and this is in the name of quote unquote placemaking, right? I'm going to come to your answer specifically, Patrick. So placemaking is this practice of trying to give a specific area a specific identity, a feel to it, right? And so about 2 years ago, we hosted a nationally renowned speaker on the topic, brought together the entire community, and from that point forward, every season we make $100 micro grants available to all the businesses. Anybody who wants it, they just got to come to us. It's a simple process, and we give them up to $100 to upgrade the front of their business, right? Put some plants in the front, just make it look more special. So we do already participate in those micro grants. But your idea is kind of a segue, and the answer is, yeah, I love the idea. As a matter of fact, we have committed to, I didn't call it a micro grant at the time, but we have committed to making a small grant to a local organization that is doing, I think, great things in Lakeside Park. And you and I talked about this a little bit in passing. I've assigned that task to my Vice President of Operations to see how we can scale that up and to continue not only to make the micro grants, but let the people know that they are available. So good idea, and yes.
Yes, thank you. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Heisler.
Thank you, Madam President. Greg, great presentation, as always.
Thank you, sir.
Very much. The scorecard is 5. You used vibrancy 5 times, so that was really good.
All right, so
that was really good. Good job.
We'll go over to Irish's and have 5 shots.
There you go. That
All
works for me. But I only had 2 quick questions. First off, I just want to say thank you for everything you're doing for that events calendar, because there's room to grow there, but it's been a really great resource for the community.
All right.
So thank you for all of that. That's
Thank
really
you.
great. And then my question is, I know you mentioned the draft coming up, and I know that with as much as you guys have going on, you don't need another event to plan or another thing to do. But has there been any thought in the future of maybe doing some type of themed event in our community, considering there might be some folks that are staying here for that, or, or maybe even like a draft watch party type thing? Would that be something that you guys would be interested in, or is that something that maybe we wouldn't get a lot of ROI on?
I'm going to be really, really blunt in my answer, okay? I am undecided yet as to what we should exactly be doing for this event. And here's why I say that. We are told that the rooms will be here. They will be here. Now, I don't want to be, I never want to take anything for granted, but I'm not entirely certain how much resource we should dedicate to something that is going to happen.
Sure.
Right? Again, I don't want to be cocky about it. And if I come off that way, that's not what I want to do. My thought process was to invest in the rollout of the community service, of the community-wide customer service initiative, because I thought maybe that could make the Fond du Lac message more sticky, if you will. Somebody comes here and they go, wow, they were friendly. I want to bring my business here. I want to bring my company retreat here. I want a vacation here. So that's kind of the direction I was going with that. Now, as far as events, I think it's an interesting idea. And at the risk of sounding like I'm passing the buck, it does sound like something that another organization in this community might be more equipped to do. And if that were the case, I would certainly be all in on promoting, for sure.
Excellent. Great perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Mr. Schussler.
What does the direct sales entail?
That's a good question. We have 2 direct salespeople, right? Well, actually, we're down 1, but we're about to make a hire. We divide the potential group market into 2 broad categories. One category is called motor coach, right? And that's where folks get on motor coaches and they travel all over the country. As a matter of fact, late last month, we hosted the preeminent Midwest motor coach event. It was at the Radisson, and we had hundreds of folks in the community looking at our community to bring motor coaches to the group. So that's one. And how do we do that? We contact the motor coach tour companies, right? We go to trade shows. We buy ads in specific types of magazines. The second category is a little more broad, and it entails meetings, corporate and association meetings, right? So any association you can think of, any association has an annual meeting, and any corporation you can think of has an annual meeting or a sales meeting or executive committee. Our job is to find those corporations and convince them that Fond du Lac is where they should hold those meetings. The nice thing about associations is 90% of them are based in Madison, so you can just literally go there, an old school, knock on the door and say, hey, what about Fond du Lac, right? But we also take out ads in certain publications, niche publications, to get our message across. There are other smaller markets. One is starting to really rev up is youth and amateur sports, right? So that would be bringing in tournaments. This summer, you are going to see 2 massive fast-pitch softball tournaments in our community. They're so big that we can't find enough fields for them. And literally hundreds, if not thousands, of girls will be in the community to participate. It's taken us 3-4 years to get to this point. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Zimmerman.
Thank you, Ms. Brault. I just want to personally thank you. I got to see your great work in action. I sit on the board of directors for the Fond du Lac Bowling Association, and they approached me and said, we're going to have 200 women for the Wisconsin State Bowling Tournament. And in the bowling world, that's a big deal. I mean, that's 200 bowlers for 5 months straight, plus they bring friends and family. And I said, you can reach out to a destination and see what they can do. And that's where I left it, because I didn't want to get involved.
Yeah.
And you guys stepped up. You guys got us a backdrop.
Thank you to you.
and
Thank you to you.
You knocked it out of the park. And we will be hosting the Senior States Tournament this year and possibly the Open after that. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's an exciting opportunity. I'll be honest, we're missing the bowlers this year, right? We had them last year. We're going to have them the coming year, but this winter, I should say. And so, but thanks for your efforts, and obviously thanks to everybody in the bowling community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Well, seeing none, I would just also like to thank you for your presentation. Thank you for making Fond du Lac feel not boring, because I agree, we're not. You look at that FDL.com calendar, and there's always just so many things. You know, as a parent with young kids, I feel like there's always stuff to do that's hard sometimes to even choose, you know, where we go. So thank you for all the promotion you do. I think if you could just expand a little bit on how you promote quality of life for our residents, because I feel like that's something that people wouldn't think of that
Sure.
a visitors bureau would do.
Sure. Well, I would, the easiest answer is to go to the events that we've created, right? And to highlight the activities that are fun, not just for visitors, but for residents. But I would also say that community like ours, we're at about 48,000, we're just under 50,000, right? If you think about all of the great, I'm just going to focus on restaurants, okay? If you think about all the great restaurants that have come into our community over the last 5 years, we'll say, you could rattle them off: Cellar District, Copper Cock, Brick House. Think about the historical ones, the ones that have been here for decades, like Theo's, Sweet and Salty Pig, on and on and on and on, right? The Backyard Bar and Grill, all of these places. It's hard for a community our size to support those the way they deserve to be supported, particularly as the economy kind of tightens up a little bit here. Whereas if we are successful in our tourism promotion effort, then we have business, we have people flowing into the community and supporting those businesses. A really cool example, and I'll end it here unless you have further questions, but our number one organic tourism asset is Blue Line, all right? Blue Line ice facility. As a matter of fact, last year my organization was blessed enough to be able to donate $100,000 to Blue Line, which helped them finish out the girls' locker room with fire suppression equipment. So anyway, you look at Blue Line and you look at all of the people flowing into that space in this community, and I think we all know where I'm going with this. Now back up and look at all of the new businesses that are on Fond du Lac Avenue. You know, I'm a father of a 9-year-old girl, right back there. There you go. I don't like roller skating, but I do a couple times a month because she's there, right? And the reason why that place, one of the reasons why that place is so successful is because there's visitors coming into our community. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great perspective that I don't think a lot of us would necessarily think about. So thank you, and thank you for all the work that you do. So thank you for spending some time with us, Mr. Molitor.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, next we will move on to the archive social media update, and that is presented by City Attorney Ms. Hoffman.
Thank you. Thank you, President Brault. All right. We covered all this when you all became council members. And this arose from the public records law requirements and the open meetings law requirements. All of you as public officials now are records custodians. And if you discuss city business on a social media site, that may well be a public record that you would need to produce. Now, if you've put it on Facebook, can you produce it? You can if you're using our archive social. We have set it up. The city has an account with them. And if you choose to, you may sign up and have your Facebook page, social media site, whatever social media you use, be hosted on Archive Social, and it backs all that stuff up. So that if you subsequently get a public records request for something that was from a year ago, we've got it. But only if you're signed up and using Archive Social. So we have a full written policy about if you do choose to have social media and you want to be on Archive Social, the IT department can help you get that set up. And that way you can safely have a discussion on city business and know that your records are going to be available and that you're protected. And we'll help you if you do get a public records request. We'll help you with that. If you don't use Archive Social, I mean, it's completely voluntary, you do not have to. However, if you have created a public record, you still have that duty to produce it. So if you want the city's help and you want to know that it's there, you know, my recommendation, my advice is use Archive Social. So I'm happy answering other questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hoffman? Well, I'm not seeing any, so thank you for making sure that we have this, you know, in the front of our minds in case we want to do social media posting. And if we have more questions, I'm sure we'll come to you. Thank you. All right, and next we will have a City of Fond du Lac website overview, which is presented by our city manager, Mr. Moore.
Thanks very much. Good evening, everyone. Great to see you. I can think of a few things more boring than watching somebody else surf the web, but for this one time, I'm going to ask your indulgence to let me walk you through some of what I would call the highlights of what you can find at the City of Fond du Lac's webpage. And it's not to belabor any point. It's just to illuminate some things that I think you will find very useful if you are asked by anyone how to do something, how to contact someone, where to find something. This is a safe spot to direct them. And so I'm going to walk you through, again, just a few highlights, and before you know it, I'll be done. But I hope that as I'm doing this, you may have some questions and wonder about some things that we could answer for you. So I want to make sure everybody can see this on the monitor in front of you. Great. I'm going to begin with the drop-down menu called Your Government. And like in all things in our government, I'm going to start with the City Council. Just a couple of highlights here. First, I need to be patient with my own selection. Here we are. Now, two highlights I want to make under City Council. Let's look, for example, at webcasts. Somebody says, hey, City Councilor, how can I watch those meetings? Well, there's the link, very easily found under your link. And if someone is so inclined, they can go back 9 years worth of meetings and watch them all. Or they can watch the one that we're having live. I'm not going to click that or else we'd have volume conflicts here, but we're streaming live right now. But these are on demand forever, can be gotten from around the world. Additional info, here's something you might be asked about. What are those supplemental rules you were talking about? Who's on what boards of City Council? And where's that presentation that Moore gave you, the first meeting after you had convened? Lastly, I want to point out that we have created a page that gives not only your photograph, but your email and your phone number. So this is a great resource that I use for people that reach out to me and say, how can I get a hold of fill in the blank counselor? I say, let me send you the link, you'll have all 7 of them. And so that's very, very useful. Next, I want to go sort of in the order of the drop-down menu. I'm now going to go to a subsection of Trish's area. I'm going to go to just the finance comptroller part. There might be times when people say, I would like to look at the budget. Where's the budget? Well, under Trish's, one of her web pages, you can find the most recent budgets or years prior budgets, always there. They are first published as proposed, and then as they're adopted by the City Council, we put up the final product. What about the capital improvement plans, someone might ask you? Same thing, years worth. Or what have you done about ARPA? There it is. And lastly, some folks might be so interested to say, where can I find the audits for the city? Well, here are many, many years of those. Again, there needs to be no middleman to access this information. It's all there for the taking. It's really just a matter of knowing that it's there, and that's why I'm talking about this tonight.
Lastly, I just want to illustrate to you that for every department, and then within the departments, every division, we represent the person's photograph, their name, their direct email address. So this is not just a vague how to contact the City of Fond du Lac. This is directly going to fall in Tricia's inbox, and that is the telephone number of the phone on her desk. So that can be very advantageous to know those things, because this is how we have set this up for every department and division. And that allows people out in the public to get to who they want to get to. Or if they've seen something on the website and say, I don't understand this, they can just call and the phone will be answered, or they can write. Next, I'm sure Deb will appreciate this. I'm going to go to the city attorney. A couple of things here that you might find to be very useful. One, there's the contact us. Many people want to talk to the city attorney. And so this is very, very helpful, because here you have, again, the direct phone numbers and their email addresses. I also wanted to point out while I'm here, public records. Public records are requested for many, many reasons. By far, the leading reason is for law enforcement. People like to have law enforcement records for a variety of reasons. But we have made it very easy. So here we are on the Open Records Request site. I select this form, and then it's going to explain to people who want open records, do you want a law enforcement one, or do you want other than law enforcement? And then it just walks everyone through the filling in of a simple form. Once they hit submit, it literally lands on Ms. Hoffman's inbox or Allie's inbox, or it goes to the PD. It's that simple. And then the nice thing is, someone who has submitted that then has real oversight, because up here where I'm wiggling my cursor is the tracking feature. So you know if it's in the system and whether or not it's been completed, and you could expect it back. I find that people value that quite a bit when they're submitting open records requests. But you may be asked, how do I do that? Here it is on the website. I'm going to illustrate something about this at the very end, because you may, after I've deluged you with this overview, wonder, how in the world do I remember all of those things? Well, there's a couple of cheats that I'm going to show you. Now we'll go to the city manager. A couple of things here I wanted to show you. This is the site where we have the recently developed newsletter access, and then we have what we call our monthly publication, council communications. So there's a repository of these there for the taking. I wanted to point those out to you because some people will ask you about those. Next, let's take a quick glance at community development. I hope by now if you didn't know it already, you're thinking, wow, there's a lot of information here and a lot of good information. So we go to community development and we look at how to answer the question, for example, where is the 2040 comprehensive plan located? Well, it's right there. Someone might ask, where is the riverfront plan? It's right there. Or the North Main Street plan, and so on and so forth. Those can be very, very useful. You see this menu down the left side, a lot of options. I'm not going to explore any more of those. I just wanted to point out to you that the access to information there is quite useful. Now let's look at human resources. That will take you back to a relatively familiar picture. Deb Hoffman somehow has two departments, but I wanted to show you here something that is helpful for you and for the public. Every form of compensation that we provide, whether it's in the form of pay or other benefits, is listed here, and this is all current. So if somebody wonders, how much does somebody make, what kind of benefits do we offer, et cetera, it's all there. Very accessible. There's no need to look anyplace else for things like that. And then nicely. Again, we have formatted our Contact Us repository in the same way as all the others, with names, email addresses, and direct phone numbers. Just a couple more of these I wanted to highlight. We could take a deep dive into police, fire, but I'm not going to because we've already kind of laid out how this website functions. And I will commend Chief Goldstein. They are getting ready to commence on a total rebuild and redesign of their part of the website. That's a massive undertaking. And, thanks to Chief for doing that, because, he wants to be, sort of best practices in forward-facing to the outside world, and so that's really the task at hand there. I do want to just point out a couple of things about Public Works. This online maps link can be very, very helpful. I'm going to go to this option and show you some of the resources in our online mapping that are just wonderful. So every one of these has a great deal of data and graphics behind it. I'm not going to open them up because that's a rabbit hole we could go down for a long, long time. But like here, 2024 construction projects that Paul and his team are overseeing, really useful information there if somebody wonders what streets, for example, may be getting torn up in July, and we haven't talked about it in a while. They will be there. So, a couple more things about Public Works you might find interesting. I'm going to go into the drop-down for Parks. And here under Parks, and there's a couple of other ways to get here, but this is very handy. Pavilion and shelter rental. Here it is. If somebody doesn't have to leave, they don't even have to put their phone down to make online reservations for shelters and the pavilion and picnic spaces out in the parks. It's very handy. That then is loaded into Maggie and John Redmond's worlds, and very useful, very convenient. I wanted to show you that. And then the last thing I'll show you tonight about Public Works that we are asked about on occasion, and you may be too, is people might say, I read all these bad things about water. I read about PFAS, read about phosphorus. What about the water that's coming out of our faucets in Fond du Lac? Here's a nice source where we go to the Water Quality Annual Report, and as is our practice, once we've posted something, we leave it there, so we're building a repository. I'm not going to open this because it's highly technical, but it's all there. And it indicates anytime we're out of tolerance with a limit, it will be highlighted there. So somebody doesn't have to search and search and search to, evaluate every mineral that's in water to see if we're within tolerance. It will illustrate that very easily. Let me show you a couple of other areas that people wonder about. I'm not going to walk through all the boards, commissions, and other things, but I am going to show you, just under the heading of boards, how useful people might find this. So here's a current list of every one of the board members on your various boards and committees that you've approved. That's very helpful. Each one of these is hyperlinked to describe to the public when it meets, what its tasks are, et cetera, et cetera. I find that to be very helpful, especially if somebody's considering joining a board. But I wanted you to see that because you will be asked, what does this or that board do? This is a great place to point them. Now, here's a very powerful link, the calendar link. If a person clicks on this, they then are exposed to every official meeting that has been publicized. And for example, let's look at Plan Commission next Monday. So someone wonders, what's on the Plan Commission agenda? How do I find that? Well, you select that from the calendar. You simply go to our repository for all of our agendas and our minutes, and here you would find, well, we've got the Police and Fire Commission, tonight's City Council meeting, the DARB, et cetera, and you're able then to access the online agenda, downloaded agenda, and once the minutes have been uploaded, here they reside for a city council meeting. So very, very helpful pathway to see those things. So we've looked at the calendar. Now I want to drop down, and I'm almost done. I'm just going to spend about 5 more minutes walking you from left to right with these drop-down menus. These are some of the cheats to help you get to places you want to go more efficiently. So here we have community information under Find. This is something we're building out, but this is very helpful. This has a lot of external organizations listed and their websites and some of their contact information. I think that this can be very handy if you ride on mass transit. This is especially good looking on a phone. But if I select bus tracking, then I'm able to actually watch, if I want to, I can watch buses on the move. So I select that to make it go live, and let's see what we have. There's a bus right there. So if I were to wait for just a few minutes, we may see a few buses are still out on the road headed back to the motor pool for the evening. But in any event, this is very helpful to people because if it's raining or snowing out and you don't want to be out for very long, you can really time your approach if you're tracking a bus trip. That can be great. So let me work my way back. Pardon me, there we go. Last thing I wanted to show you under Find, just as an example of a lot of traffic at the senior center. I could have gone to the senior center under Diane's departmental page, but I just wanted to show you it's also under Find because a lot of senior center clients like to know what's going on day by day and to read their newsletter, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's a wonderful resource from the senior center. I'm just going to now hit the drop-down menus without talking or following the links, but here's a lot of information people can access to pay various things from ambulance bills to water bills and a number of things in between. Even the bed tax that Craig Molitor was talking about down here, hoteliers can use that link to access information about the bed tax. Under Apply, a lot of convenient links here, especially if you're in the building phase of doing something. Building permit linkage can explain a whole lot of things and make that experience very efficient. Under View, I do want to show you a couple of things. If you're ever wondering, and the public wonders this sometimes too, what is hot right now in terms of what we've put on the street for bid? This is very useful. So open bids right now. You can see a huge project for the wastewater treatment plant, biogas upgrading. And down here's another bid we have on the street for signage on the Fond du Lac Loop. I just wanted to illustrate to you that if anyone's ever wondering what's in play, what's in the pipeline, there it is under bids and proposals. Also at the bottom of that page is the repository for all the closed bids. And then I wanted to show you again, here's a very easy cheat to get to the city council meetings under View. Here we go back to city council webcasts, etc. Under Ask, this is a really interesting page. We have over the years just added to this. When we're asked questions repeatedly, we start to add it to our FAQs so that the answers are always there for people. And then under Report, this can be pretty powerful. If you've ever heard the saying, see something, say something, this is our answer to that. Someone who may have seen a bent sign, bent parking meter, hole in the road, whatever, they can go and start informing us about what they've seen, and when they hit submit down at the bottom, it will land in Public Works, and then we can start to pursue a fix or repair or a conversation about that. So that is the tour of our website. I hope that that inspires you to perhaps later look even more deeply or ask me some questions now. So I'll go back to our homepage. I will just highlight the fact that the latest news is a pretty dynamic spot where we're constantly updating things. And then I'll take you down to the very bottom where there's a number of ways, as we all know, you can get to Facebook. I will click on Facebook down here. Not signed in, so I'll just come in as a stranger. And let's see what we've got here. Okay, so here, right now, tonight, we have a post recruiting people for a couple of board positions that we have open for you that we want to bring nominations. And let's see what someone would see here. Oh, they would see a link that will take them right back here. So again, explaining to them a little bit more about what it is they might be applying for, and then down here, an application they could fill out right online. So that's the tour. I hope that was helpful to you. There's just a wealth of information there that I hope that all of us together can remind the public of what's out there to help them help themselves or to help us help them. So with that, I'd be glad to take any questions, and thank you for being willing to watch someone surf the internet. I understand, very boring, but a lot of information here I wanted to familiarize you with. Thanks.
All right, well, thank you. Are there any questions from council about the website? Mr. Schisler.
I know you and I have talked about the website.
Yeah.
Now, the company that's helping us, you're pleased with?
Super pleased. Now, Mr. Schuessler, their dominant effort is in our Facebook page, right? So I just want to take a moment to illustrate. They're the ones who would, if original graphics are needed, they would create them, video, et cetera, et cetera. They help us with our web page, but I will say that much of our web page maintenance is self-help. We've trained a number of our employees within the departments to do a lot of updating themselves. We get coached up by our consultants sometimes if they think we've been a little too wordy or our graphics aren't helpful and things like that. So long answer, but it's a partnership on the web page, but we make a lot of our own updates on the web page.
And you had some good news about the traffic. We've got more traffic now than we've had.
No doubt. What I just showed you on our Facebook site right here, let's see, we should be north of 7,000. Yeah, so we're 7K plus. That's super efficient because we know we're pulsing out information that's being read by a lot of people, but this is just the city's Facebook site. Each chief has their own because they've got more niche audiences that want that information on a more hyper frequency, and so we provide it that way. So all in, we're probably in the neighborhood of about 40,000 with our various sites, including the library, the senior center, et cetera. And then on the website, we're seeing about 5,000 hits a month for looking for a phone number. We've got all that metrics of what people are looking for, phone numbers, email addresses, forms, things like that. So yeah, that's great. We've seen a lot more traffic on the website the last year or so.
This is just in the nature of a brainstorm, and I don't want to get involved in micromanaging because I want to be supportive of what staff is doing. But
Yeah.
if it be possible to add a marketing component to our website, we're up on top where it says government news, calendar, jobs, contact. And I know I've talked to you about this.
Yep.
If we could have another tab up there that says business, you could have links to the things that Craig just talked about.
Yes.
Visitors Bureau, the business to business, which is Envision, the DFP, Fond du Lac Festivals, and our own economic development department,
Yes.
and all the things that would be a redundancy of what you just said where it would be, but it's like a business tab on top for somebody who's casually looking at Fond du Lac.
Yes.
And then maybe a community tab on top where you'd have things that you've already covered some of them, like parks, aquatic center, Bird City, farmers market, housing authority, library, Thelma events. And then most importantly would be that to link to Craig's community calendar.
Yes.
Those are just two ideas, and that subject did come up when I was campaigning for office, to make,
Yeah.
add a marketing component to our website.
Yeah, and we're going to do that. So community info right here, I'm gonna hit that again. What I'm going to do is, rather than have that embedded, I'm going to do what you suggested, and I'm going to give that prominence, and I'm going to break it into two pieces. So we're going to give prominence to sort of community resources and business resources. That way, it jumps off the page more readily. As you can tell up here, you know, you kind of are telling the world what you're prioritizing when you have just 7 entry points. We'll add a couple more so that we can bring more attention to those things you're describing. No problem. And you know, when you look at what we've listed under area resources as it is, certainly there's more to it than just that, right? I mean, like here's Craig's World, right? So, you know, who knows what I'm going to get when I hit a link unrehearsed, but you know, so we've got it. It's just a matter of giving it more prominence, I think.
Yeah, and last thing, Madam President, can I ask one more thing?
Oh, yes.
About having a staff person with the city, you can't, I mean, it's just, you shouldn't have to do, you know, somebody calls and wants to add something to that community.
Yes. So what?
Who do they call? Who do they talk to?
Right now, I'll show you. Well, number one, right now, what they would do is select an email address from one of our points of contact. We probably have about 50 named points of contact. That would be one way. Another way is, and then I will tell you what we're going to add. So another way is this sort of global contact us. This is, you know, basically, what do you want to tell us? If you haven't been able to find the email address you're looking for, you missed that opportunity, then you have this wide variety of choices. So somebody picks me, now they're going to tell me who they are and how do I get a hold of them. If they hit submit on this, it lands right in my inbox, and unbeknownst to them, same for Deb, same for all of us. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a prominent link for something along the lines of, if you want to make a suggestion or suggestions for our website, something like that, so that under a quick link, someone who comes to us with that task in mind, boom, they hit that and they've got it. And then it'll go directly to the right person who can make that happen.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Heisler.
President, just a quick follow-up. First off, I completely support everything that Mr. Schuessler was talking about. I think that business and community resources landing pages, like you were discussing, that's a great way to split that up. Totally on board with that. I think that's a really wonderful resource. I guess my only question is, we all know that in the age of technology that we are, everything changes all the time, right? I mean, they're always changing templates and designs and all that sort of thing. So how frequently does the website, like the internal mechanics, does that get updated? Like with the contract with the provider that we have, how often does that happen? I mean, I'm just kind of wondering, because like with mobile responsiveness, phones are always changing, right? And we know that everybody's got their phones in their pockets, and that's where the majority of the website hits are coming from these days. So how often does that happen?
Change to our website probably happens 5 times a day.
Okay.
Because we're seeing changes that we need to make, updates we need to make, new information that we need to add, mistakes we discover, just a litany of things. And it's ongoing, and we kind of watch each other's back as well. So if I'm looking at something in Tricia's world and I see a broken link or I see information that's garbled, I tell Tricia, if she's looking at community development, not there ever be anything wrong with community development, right? But it's in the off chance there might be. Tricia would, alert Diane. So we do that often, but we also have the ability within the departments to add to the homepage, right? So this latest news is something that will be updated quite regularly at departmental level, and then the most current thing on the list pushes everything else to the side.
Gotcha.
So that the oldest, stalest thing falls off the bottom. So, Mr. Heisler, it's just constant, different from Facebook and other social media
Right.
effort, but what we're striving for here is to always keep all of our links alive, all of our information current, and, you know, like the picture that Maggie took tonight, it'll probably go up tomorrow or the next day after.
Sure. Yep. And so, and I guess my only other follow-up to that is, and thank you for all those efforts, because I'm sure that's a lot for you guys to do too. But the software company or the website company that you guys are working with, how often are they updating like the responsiveness of the menus and like the coding and all that sort of backdoor stuff that Kat and her team are far more expertise in than I have? But I'm just kind of curious about that.
That's episodic. When we see a need, when we find out that there's a device out there that for whatever reason isn't loading the web page the way it's supposed to, then we have a conversation with our sort of back-end provider to see if it's a coding problem or if, you know, we've just stumbled on something new that we need to deal with. Because what'll happen is we might have a ton of information here that loads beautifully on a smartphone, and then come to find out that the calendar doesn't reconfigure.
Sure.
And then we'll make the call and talk them through. So it's basically, it's complaint-based. When we find a problem, then we engage.
Got it. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation.
Certainly.
You know, some of Mr. Heisler's questions just make me think about how there's just so much information that you need to have available to people through a municipal website. And, you know, so I appreciate that you're constantly trying to figure out, like, are there easier ways that we can present that information to people? Because there's just a lot there to get through.
I will address that and finish by saying, here's the cheat of cheats. So this is a way to cut through all the, you know, I don't know what the links are, I don't know what the addresses are. Let's say I want public records. I select public records. I'm going to search this. It's got this, Google search is what's happening. We don't call it that. But Google search then reveals all these results, and it helps members of the public who don't know what we know about how to navigate all the nooks and crannies, and they say, oh, I wanted public records, there it is. You know, and so that search bar is super powerful, and if someone says they can't find something, that would be the first thing I would suggest. Because it's very helpful when we tell people how to do it, then they do it, and they're like, oh, okay, now I can find a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and actually, one of the other things I want to highlight is at the very beginning of your presentation, you talked about our webcasts, and one of the things I really appreciate is when those videos get uploaded, you can go to a date, watch that video, but you can go straight to the agenda item you're looking for. So if
Yes.
somebody wanted to go back and watch this presentation about the website, they could go straight to that item. And I've looked at other municipalities. Sometimes I'm trying to see if some other community is looking at something that we are, and often it's only on YouTube and you have to scroll through and try to find it, or it's on their website, but there's no easy search. So that's another really amazing tool that I think we have available for anybody who's looking for information like that.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, that ends our input items. So thank you very much, Mr. Moore.
You're welcome.
All right, and so now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Heisler. This is not debatable. Please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. We are adjourned.